Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. My next guest is Ali Toure. He is the Senior Vice President and General Manager at RingCentral. He leads the conversational AI business. Ali is a senior data and AI executive with 20 years of experience building and scaling category defining software across Fortune 500 companies and high growth startups. He's led global product and AI teams, shaped platforms used by over 100 million enterprise users, and contributed to major outcomes, including 2 acquisitions and an IPO. He was also the president of the public health company, securing $35 million in Series A funding. At RingCentral, Ali leads the conversational AI business as Senior Vice President and General Manager, driving growth and the company's long-term conversational intelligence strategy. This episode is sponsored by RingCentral. Please look out for the link to download their newest report that you can't miss. Please enjoy Ali Toure. Ali, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. We have a lot to cover. We're talking about agentic AI and customer experience. Tell us from your perspective, you've been in the industry a long time. From your start in your career up to now, how has this trajectory felt for you from a technology perspective?
That's a great question. And I would say, really, I think there are a few arcs to that technology story, right? I think if you go all the way back to 1990s, internet was a big craze where we actually connected different businesses, different consumers all together. And then came the systems of record, right? So for example, CRM, customer relationship management, ERPs kind of were there, but now they became, SaaSified, right? You can connect to ERP from any point, any system. And it was more about connecting the systems to have one place of data all sitting in there. And that was great for connecting the data, but it wasn't great for connecting the people and the processes and the tools. So I would say most of the 2000s, right, we spent automating some of those capabilities, right? Like how do we connect ERP to CRM and how do we connect CRM to some other third-party systems so that they could all be talking to each other. And then I think the social mobile kind of came and the consumers became part of it, right? So now consumers can talk to businesses through SMS, through WhatsApp and chat and so on. And I think with AI, right, we saw this sort of craze around automating these interactions with customers, right? It's about now SMS, chat, web, mobile app, and then, of course, voice. So I think we're at this point where we are good in automating these sort of very well-defined connectivity points or interaction points between the businesses and consumers and other businesses. But I think what's still missing, and this is where I think agentic AI can and really make the promise, is how do we coordinate and bring not just data, but people and processes all in one, right? And can AI help us do that?
Right, because customers, they don't feel your intentions. Every company wants to be customer centric. They want to put the customer at the heart of what they do, or they say that, but customers don't feel your intentions, they feel your systems. So, what is the role in creating customer centric systems, operations, logistics? What is that role in creating a more seamless customer experience?
I think it's all about creating the context for the customer. What we're seeing, the big missing piece is the context. And what I mean by context? Well, context is, right, do I know enough about my customer? Because again, you might come through the web, you might come through the mobile app, but you might get frustrated because you cannot reschedule or achieve your goal in one of those. And then you have to pick up the phone. And then when you pick up the phone, you get routed to different people because guess what? Your issue requires billing, payment, and maybe rescheduling. And let's take an example of a healthcare today, right? I have 2 teenagers. Those 2 teenagers require eye exams and dental checkups. And now my 13-year-old has braces, so we have to go to the dentist every 6 weeks. And I'm dreading these calls because guess what? Every time I call the dentist, it takes me 20 minutes to make an appointment or to reschedule an appointment. And so, there are many issues to that because, again, we're not connecting sort of what's happening in the background. They don't know enough about me yet. And they don't have my context, right? What's my context? It's that I have a 13-year-old who have braces and he's been coming every last year, let's say, for the first 12 months. And he has certain issues, right? The braces break too easily, or I have to come make sure that it's not hurting too much. So there are things that require maintenance on those braces. And I feel like every time I call, I still have to explain my context. I have to explain the history. And by the way, right, go through all the questions around insurance, accessibility, right, which they're allowed to required to ask. So I think the context is the big missing piece. If they know my context or my son's context, I think that service and interaction could be delightful in the end.
It seems really obvious, Ali, like why wouldn't every company want to know your context? Why wouldn't they want to know that your child's braces are too tight and all the specifics before you come in to make their life easier too? At this point, what are some of the biggest excuses for why companies of all sizes have not gathered this context and gotten everything in order? Like, what's the big pushback that you hear?
Great question. And I think if I were to summarize, I would say it's three things, right? So again, as I said, with AI and with some data, these systems are getting more automated. They're getting quicker. So I actually can do some things in the mobile app today, right? I can confirm my appointment. I can make a payment, right? But it's still very, I would say, low value tasks that you're allowed to do on these channels. Some of the bigger ones that require, some maybe human judgment in the process, right? To reschedule or to ask about a medical procedure or to ask about certain things or options around a different type of brace, right? For example, that he can wear, they still require a lot of human judgment. And what's happening is we are good in automating a single channel, right? Companies have automated their IVR systems. Companies have automated their web chats. They all work according to plan. They all work according to design. What's missing is we're not looking at sort of the whole picture, number one. And then number two, what's also missing is once you go through the channel and ask for something, whether you need to reschedule or make a payment or change your insurance provider, you are not connected to the downstream processes within the organization, right? For example, I have to wait for someone else to come in and help me with my billing questions, or I have to wait for someone else to help me with my refill questions, right? Again, if I'm a consumer calling the doctor or dentist. And so companies, I don't think, have gone the next step, which is the natural evolution of like, okay, you automate these interactions, but you have to connect them to a system of outcomes that sits within your enterprise today. And I think that's where I think the biggest gap is to be able to orchestrate a set of actions that come out of these automated interactions that your or the businesses are having. That to me, I think is the biggest missing piece here. And I think if you could do that, then not only you can provide the context, because every time I call about a billing question, well, I get rerouted to, someone else to help me with some other issue, or I know that I have to look up my refill with the pharmacy so that I can, see if I can update my when my medication can be delivered. So what's really happening is if you don't have that next step of actions, if you don't track those, the automation will be limited. And I think this is where the customer experience and context will be limited as well.
Just as you're talking, Ollie, I'm imagining some of my recent past customer service experiences, and it really does feel like so many companies still miss the mark, still don't understand the opportunity, and are putting their most inexperienced, clumsy technology and untrained staff in front of the customer, which is the only opportunity you have to really make an impression. And it seems like a missed opportunity. Let's move on and talk about some of your recent product releases at RingCentral. Let's talk about what's happening with AI receptionists and how it's helping clients.
Yes, so it's a great segue. And I think this is where I would sort of carry kind of this conversation into the next phase, which is okay, so what we said is context is missing, right? We don't have the context for multiple channels. What's also missing is a sort of a set of actions that you need follow up on, right? And so the way we think about it at RingCentral, about how we want to really leverage AI right, on top of our rich voice and digital interactions is around three new concepts, right? For every of these interactions, what we kind of want to think about is who is the system of record? Who actually maintains the data that these interactions produce and use in those? The second part, Blake, is it's really about system of outcomes. It's not about automating the interaction. It's about achieving an outcome, right? I want to resolve my billing question, or I want to reschedule my son's appointment, or I want to ask for availability of a certain product. So those outcomes, I think, are incredibly critical if you think about that overall customer experience. And so you now need to think about a system of outcomes as well. And then lastly, right, the third piece we think about is system of engagement. What do I mean by that, right? You are engaging with the business through multiple channels, but you also might be coming from different points of conversation. You can come from a third-party system. You can come from a SMS that gets routed to somebody else, and then that needs to get into the queue for the call center. So from our perspective, capturing that system of engagement is also critical because the actions also get routed back to the consumer or the business through those engagement channels as well. And again, what I look at today is most of the companies are lacking beyond that system of record. Like they capture the data, right? You analyze a voice conversation, you put the transcript somewhere, and then that's good. You record this, your recording is sitting somewhere. But no one's analyzing that recording. No one's actually making sense of it. And then no one's actually coming up with a set of actions that may be hidden in that conversation. So when we think about the world as system of engagement, system of outcomes, and system of record, kind of that AI journey becomes a lot more natural to the way customers interact with businesses. And so our AI strategy is actually following this three collar framework in this case. And so AIR, our AI receptionist, was actually our first foray into the AI offerings that we have, which is to solve the specific problem around, again, think about a healthcare office, 9 to 5, right? No one works beyond 5, and then no one works at nights on the weekends. But your needs are there, right? If I need to change my braces, or if there's an emergency with my
Right.
kid's refill issue, you have to be able to call and get something right in return. So now AIR actually works on behalf of the office and answers your questions and maybe helps you with some of these basic tasks around rescheduling, refilling, and so on, and actually if it's an emergency, could route it to the right person, right, within the business. So now what we're seeing is it's a scale problem. Our customers are now able to scale beyond 9 to 5, and they can interact almost 24/7 with their customers. And actually, they can extend their capabilities and offerings to those people. So when I come in tomorrow morning, my appointment is set, my insurance has been checked, and guess what? My refill is ready, right? And so they can achieve almost a leap beyond what sort of manual capabilities can offer during that 9 to 5 period. So that's the first piece we're unlocking, is unlocking that scale for our businesses, for our customers, to be able to serve their customers in a much more scalable way.
When I think about as this patient, when it's after hours or weekend, usually they have an after hours call service with some person working from home taking those calls and then I guess texting the doctor. But maybe most of the time the doctor doesn't even need to be called. It's a frequently asked question that AI can respond to.
That's right. That's right. So this is where the knowledge hub becomes important. And again, back to the context, right? So our AI receptionist can now leverage the knowledge hub that the company may have created for itself, right? The frequently asked questions, or here's a document, right, that can kind of explain what you need to do to be able to get a refill and so on. So that becomes also scalable because you don't need to call someone. As you said, it's actually all part of the way the AI agent works is leveraging that information and giving you a specific set of next steps to follow, or actually do those steps for by itself.
Right now in customer service, there's so much anxiety, at least from chief experience officers, about AI, about agentic AI, about any kind of virtual assistant. It's just the wild, wild west. What advice do you have for our CX leaders that are listening that need to roll out these virtual assistants and agentic AI and do it in a beautiful, seamless way?
Great question. So as we work with our own customers, we constantly talk with them about the same issue as well. I think we are at a convergence time where some of these technologies are getting mature enough. The real-time voice synthesis is actually getting there. I think the LLMs are maturing. And most importantly, I think people are realizing the agentic AI as a capability is slowly getting there, right? Where these agents can reason on their own, where they can decide what to say and then decide what kind of actions to take. So we're slowly getting to that point of convergence where with this technology, what's available is, yes, you can actually start thinking about the whole experience. The critical part, like I think what we see is it's important to treat AI not as an efficiency play, but it's about the experience itself. And that to me is the critical path as well. Can AI become the connective tissue between all these disjointed interactions that we talked about? Can AI become the context, right? Where you can now know more about your customer in an instant versus being handed off to different people to kind of talk to you about specific issues. And then I think lastly, can AI constantly learn about you? That's the other missing piece, I think, when you're not thinking about this in a whole, the learning process, it gets lost, right? Why do you need to learn about your customer? Because their needs are changing. My kids have braces this year, but next year they're going to have different issues. So keeping that context about the patient, the customer, the end user is critical as well. So when you put that together, the context, the knowledge, the learning, and as well as the experience itself, you can approach this from a whole different perspective. And so the first thing I would say, and this is what we recommend our customers, that stop treating AI as a purely efficiency play. It's more about the
Hmm.
experience itself. And can you really think about the customer journey? In some cases, yes, automation is going to be part of it. But we are also talking about two other aspects as well, which is you have to assist your human agents, right? You're not automating their jobs fully. Yes, you can automate probably a majority of their tasks, but in most cases, the human relationships are still critical. So, what are you doing with AI to assist your human agents to become better problem solvers, to become better coaches or therapists, right, to the customer to solve problems? And then lastly, what are you doing to analyze all of these interactions so that you can teach both your human agents and your digital agents better skills, right? Better capabilities to serve better. So we think about these three A's, right? Automate, assist, analyze, as part of a bigger flywheel where each one reinforces each other. And in the middle of this, think about the agentic AI sitting there and being able to now do more with less, right? You scale beyond the working hours and then be able to scale beyond your workforce, right? Through some additional augmentation. And so I think this is where we tell our customers, right? Put your customer experience in the middle and amplify the capabilities through this automate, assist, analyze triangle, and then see how your experience shifts with these interactions. And I think the anxiety then will actually recede because you are making an impact right away, right? We have customers who have gone from, it's amazing. I'll give you an example. One of our healthcare customers, they were manually listening to the recordings of their customers and trying to understand if compliance issues were met or if there's any compliance issues to flag those issues, or if the agents were actually saying what they're supposed to say, right? Were they mentioning certain things? Were they not mentioning certain things? And they could only listen to so many calls, right? There's only limited time in the day. And with our AIR and AVA and ACE offerings, they were now able to analyze, I think, from 300 to 12,000 or 120,000 calls automatically and instantly, right? And not only getting the insights out of those calls, but understanding what their next best steps are, right? What should I do with
Hmm.
this customer? What should I do with this, right? So imagine how the patterns were emerging just being able to analyze so many calls and then feeding those into specific coaching plans, right? I have these skills that I need to teach my agents to do better in these areas. And then I need those skills to be taught to my digital agents that are taking the calls. And so it's almost like creating that flywheel effect that reinforces this across the board. And I think this is where that experience gets transformed. And we're talking not just incremental numbers of like CSAT scores going up or support calls going down. It could be in some cases transformative, right, for their business.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm looking at a future of customer service that the experiences are better, but it is more technology powered. And there are questions around like the workforce. Will they be redeployed? Will they be more trainers and consultants? Will they be more helpers? Do you have any predictions about the people side of all these technology changes?
Yes, I don't think we're we're getting rid of humans. I think humans are absolutely critical, right, in this whole experience itself. We know certain industries, by the way, are more human-based or voice-based. Like that voice and human interaction is almost very sacred, right, for them. I know, for example, a lot of companies in healthcare, they try to automate these interactions, and what's happening is the patients want to speak to a person. They don't want to
Yeah.
speak to an agent, right? The digital agent. And there are reasons why. I'm okay speaking to a digital agent if it can help me with my rescheduling an appointment within seconds. That would be great, right? Um, but if I'm going to be on hold for 20 minutes and get frustrated because the agent on the other line cannot find me a slot to bring my kid in, well, that's going to be a frustrating experience. So I think what we're seeing is, regardless of industry, the companies, especially consumers, are not against digital AI kind of being your counterpart on that interaction. I think they're against a frustrating experience. So if we make the experience better through use of AI, as I said, right, for the whole experience, not just for automation, then I think that's going to allow humans to really take on this more relationship manager role, right? Like the humans are needed when you're solving a complex problem or when you actually need to talk to the patient, right, to get them comfortable about a certain issue or a certain topic. Or a strategic perspective, right? Like you need humans to give you sort of a strategic perspective to the customer. And so I think what we're going to see is probably human interactions reserved for these kind of high value, high outcome kind of interactions. And everything else could and would hopefully be automated, right, through use of multiple agents orchestrating multiple tasks for the customer. And so I think this is where the human skills are becoming more important, right? That digital agents cannot do. It's the voice, it's the empathy, it's the relationship, it's the almost like I'm a authority talking about your medical future here and trust me, right? It's about trust as well. So I think if we can automate enough of the low value tasks with digital agents, humans can now automate and assist with the high value tasks.
Yeah, I mean, when something's really wrong, you don't want to talk to an AI. You want to talk to a person. That person has
That's right.
empathy, they express care, and that really does carry its weight. It means a lot. Let's talk about the last product that you're offering now, AI Conversation Expert ACE, a new release. What is ACE and how can it help your clients?
So we're excited about that product. It's been actually in the market for almost a year now, a little more than a year, and I think it's a great offering in the things that we talked about. It does what most traditional voice AI capabilities and products do today. It listens, it transcribes, but it goes beyond just transcribing, right? It actually listens for sentiment. It listens for kind of hesitation or how much the agent talked versus the customer talked, or it understands frustration or it understands objections, right? So it listens for keywords in the whole conversation. And this is why the voice as a channel is a very rich channel, right? It contains tone, cadence, hesitation, right? Emotion and signals that other text-based chats cannot pick up. So with our conversation expert, we are listening to every voice conversation and combining that with digital interactions as well. So this is why, again, I'm saying voice is rich, but it's not the only channel. We look at other digital channels. And at the end, you see all these interactions coming from a customer. And now you know what their intent was in calling you, right? What issues did they bring up? Did they mention objections? Did they express frustration? Or did they even mention your competitors' names, right? In the conversation. So you can
Right.
pick up a lot of that data. And what ACE does with that is then creates a system of actions, right? Again, back to the system of outcomes. We actually now know that we have to follow up with this customer on three specific things, right? They mentioned they're about to come in to purchase a new car, but they're looking for this kind of discount. Great. So now there's a discount potential proposal that you can provide. They express frustration with their old car and they have expressed issues around reliability. So maybe offer them a care package, right, that includes sort of maintenance and support over time. And then lastly, they were mentioning other competitors. So now make sure that you have, right, what it takes to go and give them, make sure that they stick with you as opposed to going to a competitor. So that's one part of the interaction. What we also do with Out of ACE is we then analyze the agent's performance. And then we basically say, you know what, your agent actually covered all these things, but he or she missed out on these promotions, or he or she could be more empathetic, or he or she could be XYZ. And out of that recommendation, we create a coaching plan. And that coaching plan becomes the training, right? As soon as after the call ends, they can actually put that into play, right? Hey, you need to be more XYZ for the next call. And so what we're seeing is sort of this real-time feedback, right, from the analysis, helping the agents become better for the next call, for the next call. And then last but not least, right, we orchestrate these actions as we talked about. We then push this information into a CRM, right, or a service desk or any third-party application out there so that these actions could be coordinated, right, for follow-ups. Because if you just tell the agent you need to create a proposal, that agent may or may not take care of that. But by seeing that it's been integrated into CRM, Salesforce creates a proposal and somebody sends out to the customer, we now have the full loop right into the customer's view. So this is why we call it conversational intelligence, right? It's not just analytics, it's not just voice transcription, it's the intelligence that we're building to be able to track these outcomes to these actions, and then of course the impact on the experience.
I think people listening will be taking notes, Ali, and really understanding your process and how you talk about everything. And I think right now everyone's just in a mad dash to understand these technologies and the implications of them, how to do them right. So you really did provide a lot of good insights today that I know our audience will benefit from.
My pleasure. And look, I think we're all in this together, right? So we're working with our customers day in, day out, and we're hearing their issues, their anxieties, their problems. But at the end of the day, as technology providers, our job is to enable them with the right technology. And we never see technology as the end of the journey. I think we see it as an enablement, right, for these things. And for me, as you said, the experience is still our goal, and that's we're doing everything we can to go there. And I think if we can help really improve their experience overall, this is where I think our success lies altogether.
Would you like to take some fun questions now? Some fun, quick questions.
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay. All right, Ali, what is the most important part of your morning routine?
Oh, yes, it's coffee. It's coffee, coffee, coffee. And not just for the caffeine, but it's sort of a ritual around like waking up and then just taking
Mhm.
it slow. And over the years, I've learned to take it slow, right? The mornings are almost very critical for that, sort of starting the day in a nice way. And coffee ritual is really part of that, right? Preparing the coffee, pouring it, drinking it slowly, and not rushing out of the house like a madman, and then creating that time for me. So that just I think maybe bookend that with the slow approach to the mornings, but coffee sits in the middle of that.
All right, what TV show or movie are you currently streaming?
Ooh, there are several. I like Slow Horses. This British spy one, right, on Apple TV. And then I think the with my kids, we finished Stranger Things,
Mhm.
just last month. So those were the last two that I've watched.
What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Um, I think it's about being with the loved ones and creating enough time to really be present, be engaged, and spend time with them. Really, I think it comes down to that. I think, this is where I've come as well in terms of my life journey is creating those spaces and time blocks to be with those
Mhm.
folks, and that's it.
What's your favorite type of vacation?
Active one, not a passive one. So
Yeah.
I realize I'm not a good in passive vacations. I think it's about finding a hobby or something that really appeals to you. For example, for me, I have a great friend who's an ornithologist, and he goes on these field trips to go after birds, certain specific birds in certain areas of the world. That's my ideal vacation. Is I go sometimes with him backpacking into these wilderness areas and chase after these rare birds with him for a week or so. It's active, you're walking, you're outside nature, and you actually have a purpose for the whole vacation. Very rewarding in the end.
If you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Um, wow, that's a great one. I'm thinking Gandhi as someone who actually promoted peace and sort of reconciliation, right, all his life. And I think this is something we need more than ever today. So he is definitely top of the list of folks I would love to have lunch with.
If you could summarize your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
Be present. That's really, I think, it's all everything I do, everything I try to do, be present. And I think that's a skill I'm trying to still work on today.
And if our audience want to connect with you, can they do that? What's the best way?
Absolutely. My email, my LinkedIn, and we can provide those as well.
All right. Well, we'll put that in the show notes. Everybody, you've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Please don't forget to like or subscribe and follow my social content on other platforms where I post content daily, including X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and more.